Hello, welcome to this video. I was going to say Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, but depending on when you see it, that might be totally irrelevant. I'm recording this in the in-between phase of Christmas and New Year, where I'm like not been too much, but I just felt really inspired to do this video. So if you are seeing it fresh, I hope you've had a great festive season's greetings and all that. If you're watching it later, it doesn't matter. Hope you hope you canny. As you can see, I'm in that funny mood. Okay, this video today is going to be about why we can't manifest the life we want while we still have karma to repay. I'm probably going to try and make a snappier title than that when I post it, but I'm going to kind of dive into it. I've got some notes here. This is something that is very rife in my life experience on my spiritual journey. And it's kind of bringing together a lot of my knowledge and experiences. And I really just want to share it. Now, first of all, I want to say, I'm not saying that this insight is right. Or even fully complete. It is what I'm sharing right now, the truth as I see it from my experiences. And if you've been watching any of my videos, I've also talked about how we are moving into a space where all this old past stuff, the past way things were, is changing. We have moved into a significant kind of point in our evolution where actually we can't really predict anything anymore. That's what we're stepping into. We're stepping into a time where we need to respond and react to life. Now, I think this insight will make sense with that understanding as well, because it's partly relevant. So sorry if I go off on a couple tangents here. I am hopefully going to bring it all together through the video. So there's two things that I want to talk about, which is kind of like life design, what we talk about at Love School, manifesting, conscious creation, creating your own reality, taking some responsibility for your life, choosing where you are headed. The other side, the duality of that is our karma. It's our shadow work. It's the other side of what we look at Love School, which is the work we need to do to make that possible, make the life design possible. And in my life, there's been like two threads in my spiritual life, if you like. One has definitely been this shadow work, this deep connection with God and faith through uncovering who I am, what life is about, and healing and recovery, which I think is a big part of the spiritual journey. And we're going to talk about that. The other side of it is the conscious creation, is realizing that we are creators of our own reality, that we can shape our experiences through how we interact with the world, how we interact with life. And maybe it's the like metaphysical part of life that people talk about a lot in like new age spirituality, which is manifestation, magic, and the lighter, brighter aspects of creation. And where I'm at now is in a place where that's coming together with a lot of insight and understanding. I'm in a kind of a pivotal point in my experience where I've kind of stepped through a lot of recovery and I've kind of understood a lot about creation and being creative, and I'm bringing that together and stepping into a new phase in my life. So everything I'm going to share in this video is just like what's kind of been settling in me. Kind of got this as a bit of a download over the past couple of days from just kind of tying up loose ends, weaving together knowledge and insight. And I've talked about it in other videos as well. So if you have watched a few videos of mine, you might see some similar threads. If you haven't watched them, you'll probably get different insights, because this is very specific. This video is going to be about manifesting and karma. And I'm going to explain a lot about what I understand karma to be, and why that affects our ability to co-create, and how it all impacts our spiritual journey. Okay. We are always in a creative space, right? We are creators. That's what humans are. And we have different levels of our ability to create. We are able to create dependent on our circumstances and our energy and our connection with our frequency, if you like, our alignment, how we are connected to what I'll call our destiny, our path. So I do think we can create whatever we want. However, the more we try to create what's not meant for us, the more stress, the more struggle, the more karma we're going to create. Okay. Which is what I've discovered in my life. And sometimes the things that we create are linked to our karmic lessons that we have to learn. So if you're on this video, like I say, I'm going to title it something around, we can't manifest the life we desire without what we manifest either having problems or we lose it completely without repaying our karma. So in other words, we can create a life that we want and desire that will be optimal for us. However, if we have karmic debt to repay, we cannot gain in life until we repaid that debt. Okay. Think of it energetically like a scale, 0 being alignment point. Okay. 0 being the potential of anything is possible, that we can create whatever we want. And that if we started at 0, right, we could just create a life we want, but we don't. We all start at a different point in life, good or bad. Some people, if you say, some of the talk about people being born into privilege and that, but I'm not sure about that because I'm going to talk about that a little bit deeper. Karma is not necessarily related to our possessions or material things, although it is relevant to our physical experience. So people that are potentially born into positive karma might be further along. So they might have some support. They might have been, they'll be ahead, if you like, right? Energetically. So it's easier for them to create the life that they want because they're ahead karmically. They were born into positive karma. We'll call it that, right? Negative karma, we're born behind, if you like. We might have a karmic debt, and that debt could be ours from previous lives, if you believe in all that or not. It could be generational, which again, I'll try and tie into all this. It is very often, very muchly generational, which is linked to our past lives, because I think all our past lives are all linked generationally to our lineage. So you can't really have a past life that's not linked to your lineage in one way or another, because that's the karma that we are repaying to try and always get to this point of 0, okay? If we've got karmic debt. So you might start off with a lot of karmic debt that needs to be repaid, and you can't create the desired outcome that you want until this karma is repaid and you're at 0, where all infinite possibilities emerge from, okay? You can still create, but you're creating towards this lesson, this 0 point, and each, as you're kind of gaining positive karma, if you like, is learning a lesson, is repaying a debt. If you are manifesting physical things from a place of karmic debt, they're not going to be satisfying. For example, you might manifest a dream holiday. It'll be a disaster, or you'll feel like shit the whole time, or your relationships will break down in it. And that's showing you what the karmic debt is you have to repay. If you want a dream holiday and your relationship is an absolute sham, then your karmic debt is related to relationships. If you manifest your dream car and the car breaks down all the time because you haven't organized proper care of it, your karmic debt is to do with neglect. There's always a story in what we create that's going to teach us what our karmic debt is and where it is on that spectrum. So when you've got a lot of people, especially when they call themselves spiritual, and they're trying to get people to manifest physical things, all the physical things are going to show you is what your energetic karmic debt is. When you work on clearing your energetic karmic debt, when the physical things come in, they're positive. So you can create a business, but if you haven't cleared your karmic debt and the business operations don't work properly, or the clients that you're getting in are all really stressful, or you're constantly in, having expenses that you didn't know about or whatever. They're all messages. So we can manifest whatever reality we want. But there's going to be a karmic lesson if we haven't cleared our karmic debt. So the reason we do all this work to pay back the karmic debt is so that when we manifest something in, it's a positive, we can enjoy it. So we're whole in ourselves. We don't have this lack. We don't have a karmic lesson to learn from this manifestation. We can bring something in and enjoy it and gain more, grow more in a positive way. So I'm going to dive into a little bit of what I understand karma to be. Karma is like the circumstances that we're born in energetically, right? And our energy is body, mind, spirit. Okay. So it's our body, it's our physical reality, it's our environments, physical, okay? Karma, where we are born and what we are born into. The mind condition. So it's like all the conditions that are placed upon us as we are young. So our karma is imprinted on us in these first 7 years of life, okay, when we're very young and impressionable, when we can't choose our own thoughts, we can't choose our reality. It's literally given to us and it's imprinted on us, to us, through our early experiences. And that's what first conditions our mind, okay? So that's like our thoughts, how we interpret the world, what we're seeing physically, okay? It's also our emotional frequency. So if we are born into an environment that's very stressful, that's going to condition our frequency negatively, if you like. Positive and negative, again, it's not about good and bad. It's just this karmic debt we've got to repay. And also our spiritual indoctrination. And our spirit is how free we are, how much infinite potential we are. There's 0 point, okay? Hope this is making a bit of sense. And I also don't want to be too technical about all this because this is a theory. I mean, it's very real to me. I wouldn't be sharing it if I didn't think that this was something that was helpful and true. But it's maybe different to what people have heard before. And obviously, I'm using language that's influenced from my spiritual journey. Karma is something that's considered kind of Buddhist, and I use these influences from my spiritual journey, which has involved, dipping into different religions and research and different indoctrinations and all that sort of thing. So it kind of just brings things together, and I'm using the language that works for me. And it's also bringing together what I've learned about the mind, the body on a healing and recovery journey. So this is literally my interpretation of what I've discovered on my journey. Okay. So if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We have this karmic circumstance that we are born into, okay? So our early years, this karma is imprinted onto us. We become the condition of our karma. By the time our brain, our body is developed to a certain point where our consciousness changes, which is normally about age 7, then we kind of step into a different place. Now, we're not adult, obviously, so we can't make choices for ourselves. However, from this age, our karma will play out. So literally, we will be experiencing the consequences of our karma, right? So we will be experiencing our body the body we're born into, the physical environment we're born into, or living in. You know, we might move around or anything like that. I'm not saying that all this stuff is fixed, because that's going to dictate your karma as well. We're going to be literally living in the mental conditions, the rules of our parents, the rules of our culture, our society. We're literally we're playing it out, we're living it, and things will happen to us in our early years between, normally, this is just, again, these ages are not fixed in stone. They're just an energetic age of this kind of pre-pubescent, right? 7 to 14. This is where we've got a lot more freedom generally. We'll be going to school without our parents, this sort of age, right? And things happen to us, for us, if you want to consider that in a spiritual way, but things happen and we can't really fully understand it or grasp it, have much control over it. They just kind of happen to us. This is our karma playing out. Then once we've kind of gone through puberty and we're kind of in that early adulthood phase, and I'm considering this from about 15 to what seems to be a very critical point for a lot of people. Now, this can be extended. There's no fixed kind of time frames or anything like this. It's like an energetic phase. So this is, and it's generally in two phases. So like 15 to 21, 21 to 28. Most people, when they get to about 28, have some sort of crisis where we're really forced to face and look at our lives. It happens a lot. I think I've talked about this on a YouTube video before. Maybe it's in Love School. There's a repeating pattern of people who come awake, if you like, aware at around this age of like 28. Sometimes it's a bit earlier, sometimes it's later. And then this early phase, this like teenage phase, a lot of stuff again can happen, but we're starting making more choices when we're a teenager because we have more control over our own mind, body, situations, environments. We're not as easily controlled as a teenager as we are when we're prepubescent. We're young adults. And then this kind of older adult when we're like, you know, free from education, free from schooling, free from our parents. Technically, we're an adult from like 18 or 21, depending on the culture you live in. Normally it's like 18, isn't it? But we all know. Yeah, I was going to say we all know what it's like to be 18. You think you're an adult, you know everything, but we create a lot of karma in those early years, is what I'm trying to say. So the first phase, our karma is imprinted. The second phase, our karma plays out. And then the third phase, we're kind of living in our karma, okay? We're living in the consequences of all of this imprinting and the consequences of the things that have happened to us. And then often it gets to a point where we talk about it spiritually as an awakening. You'll find probably a lot of people when they get to like 28, it's like kind of a whole life crisis thing. They look at their life and go, where am I? What am I doing? This is not what I thought I would be able to create in life. And it's that moment, it's that pivotal moment when you're like, I thought if I did this, I would get that. But did all this stuff happened and I'm here and this is not where I wanted to be. Awake. That's when you come awake spiritually and you realize that where you are doesn't match up with where you thought you were going, or what you wanted to create, your ambitions, your desires, your goals. Now, okay, some people might have positive karma and maybe they are. I'm not really talking to those people, because I honestly think a lot of the people who talk online about manifestation, magic, and things like that, I'm not saying they haven't had a tough life or karma to repay. Some of them might have. A lot of them maybe had some positive karma already. And this is also like, maybe it's like a spectrum as well. So rather than consider it a line like I've been showing, there's different areas of our life, okay? So like consider it like a globe. A pie chart. There we go. Maybe it's even, I'll even draw it up. Like a pie chart with different areas of our life of positive and negative that we can create in. So it might be that your relationships, you've got a lot of positive karma, but your in your physical reality, you've got a lot of negative to repay. I don't necessarily want to get into all the reasons for why we have this karma, because it can get a bit complex. And also, if this is something you're really interested in and you want to really look at it in your life, I can support people, but you're gonna have to either put the pieces together for yourself, and if this is something you're interested in, comment and I can do more content about it, or reach out, ask questions, or you can book a one-to-one and we can dive into it, because everyone's karma, like I say, is going to be different because it's going to be on a spectrum, different areas of our lives and things like that. We get karma, negative karma, by doing things that go against God's will. God, when I use that word, is the gift of divinity. It's what is best for us. Not only what is best for us as an individual, what is best for us as a collective humanity, and what is best for us as the oneness of the universe. When we do something that is not in our best interests, not in humanity's best interests, not in the planet, the universe's best interests, especially if it's intentional, we're going to create negative karma and a karmic debt to repay. And if we don't repay it in our current lifetime, we'll be born. This is how I see it. We'll be born with negative karma. So some people can, charge through life, right? Causing all sorts of chaos and misery. And we think, oh, how did they get off the hook? They won't. They'll just, like, this is how I see it. We'll just literally be reborn with a karmic debt and they'll have to repay it. And we also pass on our karma genetically and things. Now, I did do a video, I'll try and link it if I can get clever and show how to link it, about this shift that's changed recently that I think has happened, which is that we can't pass on our karma anymore. I think this is one of the major shifts that we're going through now. So in the past, we have been able to karmically pass on our karma genetically, right? So to our children, to our family. And what's happening now is, as we're all evolving individually, that's not possible anymore. So we either have to repay our karma ourselves. And I also think we're in a very critical point now where we can't be born with karmic debt. I think that is a lot of what, all these predictions and this religious talk about, like, judgment is about. That we are now, and again, this is all just a theory, but it's based on stuff that I feel is right, in alignment. Like, I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't. That if we don't pay back our karma now, we will be stuck in it until it's paid back, till we die. And we will, because of the way that the energy is shifting, the planet, the universe is shifting, and we're going through an evolution process, that's the next phase. And that's what the 5D is. It's almost going to be like instant karma. Like, if you don't pay back your karma, you can't pass it on, you can't ignore it, you're gonna see the consequences. And if you're having shitty consequences in your life, it's because you haven't repaid your karmic debt, or you're doing shitty things. Sorry, I'm doing that because so it should be, I think. Anyway, okay. I hope that just briefly explains why we get sometimes. So there's a difference also as well between intentional and unintentional karmic debt. Sometimes we do things unintentionally that are not in our own best interest or other people's best interests. And what will generally happen if that happens is we'll get a warning. I don't really like using words like that because it's not like an ominous thing. It's like something or someone will come into our awareness and show us our karma. It's going to show us what we're creating. So this might be an uncomfortable conversation. It might be an interaction where you're like, suddenly you see yourself, or you see your behavior, or you're confronted with the consequences of your behavior, right? Like what I just said, you'll do something, or you'll be doing something, or you'll be following a pattern, and suddenly that's going to become very clear. And you'll be presented with a choice. Do I continue this pattern, which is continue in the karmic cycle, or do I try something different, make a different choice? Now, as soon as you choose to stay in the karma, you are intentionally then creating that karmic cycle. So you will get that karmic debt to repay. If you choose anything different, right, then you won't have that debt to repay. You might still be creating other consequences, other karmic consequences, which will need to be adjusted to get you back into your alignment. But as long as you're making the choice to do something differently, try something new, be presented with different, better circumstances, then you're going to be getting to the right, getting more into your alignment and paying back, creating good karma. As long as we're repaying, like I say, trying to get to the 0 point of infinite potential, as long as we're repaying that. And then once we get to that 0 point, which is like alignment, which is peace, wellness, clarity, and we then choose to intentionally do things in our best interests, in the best interest of humanity, in the best interests of everything, nature, life, we can create positive karma. And then we can start making steps towards creating a better life, or a life that we would like. Okay. And that's the point where a lot of people are talking about when they talk about manifestation and things, when they're saying how you feel dictates your reality and you can manifest your reality and all that. If you've got, and like I say, this is kind of a bit of a gray area because I don't necessarily know how this will fit with this new way of being. I think with the new way of being, everything that we're presented with in the present moment is going to be feedback as to what we're creating moving forward in the future and what we're co-creating. So we'll almost get it instantly. So if we're doing something that feels shitty and we carry on pushing through into the shittiness, we're going to create a shitty outcome. If we're doing something that feels really good, we're going to get the feedback and create something that's really good. If you're in like a mood, a life circumstance of just generally not feeling great, or in a circumstance that generally is holding you down, it's likely you've got karmic to repay. And until we repay it and get to that 0 point, we can't manifest the desire. We repay our karma. Think of karma as like an energetic story. Okay, so I talked a bit about that initially, about what karma is, being energetic, but it's an energetic story, the story that creates our life and the circumstances that we live through. Repaying our karma involves moving beyond our born circumstances and the situations that we had to endure that were beyond our control when we were young. It involves making amends or making things right, energetically paying back or repairing or recovering the consequences of the things that we did, potentially then as young adults, while we were living in the energetic consequences of our born and karmic play. Okay. We might also have generational past life karmic debt due to lives that we've lived that we didn't repay our karma to pay back. That's getting a bit deep, and I know some people don't like that idea, but just in my experiences, when I couldn't make sense of some things, I was given downloads and insights about past lives. It's like, this is why you've had to repay this. And I'm like, and I get it and I see it and it feels right and I clear it and it moves and I can move on. That's just what has happened in my experience. So repaying our karma is evolving past our past. It's evolving through our past. It's evolving because of our past. It's evolving to get better than the consequences of our past or the circumstances we were given. We repay our karma energetically. So this can be physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, and or all of the above. We do it through our actions. If it's physical, we do it through our actions. We have to take action towards repaying a karmic debt. We do it through feeling and processing our emotions, through actually sitting with our emotions and feeling the depth of the consequences of either things that we've done, things we've experienced, or things that were implanted onto us, if you like, given to us to experience. We do that mentally by changing our mindset, by doing shadow work, by uncovering and considering our beliefs and our values and why we have them and choosing them for ourselves. It's not easy to do these things. They literally take an energetic investment. Okay. And the other one is like a spiritual karmic repayment, where we consider for ourselves our own morality, becoming in alignment with our own integrity, and considering our own faith to God, divinity, whatever that is for us. We have to change to repay our karma. And if you've been human for more than a day, you'll know change is not easy. So the change, the actual effort, the commitment, the energetic investment it takes to change and grow and improve and evolve is how we pay back our karmic debt. And like I say, we might have to do any or all of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual work. You're going to know that based on this spectrum that I was talking about. If it's physical, for example, I'll try and give you through some examples. If we're born with a physical limitation, that might be in our body, that might be in our circumstances. You might be born in poverty, you might be born with a disability, you might be born with in war. I don't know, that's a bit extreme for us who live in the Western world, but there's a lot of things war can be, right? Really chaotic environment, traumatic environment. If that's a physical, I just want to miss that bit of hair doing, right? If that is a physical environment, very often we have to make physical changes to repay the karmic debt, right? But also what we have to think is everything is connected. So there might be mental and emotional reasons why we struggle to make the physical changes. If there's not, there's not. Great. You just make the physical change, you've repaid your karma, you get back to zero. But for a lot of us, we're born into these complex karmic situations that are interconnected of, physical, body, mind, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and we're kind of trapped into that. So we can release maybe it's one thing and it frees a little bit more, and then we have to release the mental. Okay, now we've got a little bit more freedom, but we're still tied emotionally and spiritually. Does this make sense? Because ultimately you want to be free, then you want to kind of integrate it all, bring it back together to the 0 point where you can then create the life that you want. I can go into more detail about this if we need to. But as I said, it has to be relevant to your story or the circumstances you've lived in. So for example, a lot of my karmic debt that I've had to repay has been around relationships. It's been around abuse, neglect. It's been around that sort of thing. And I've had to therefore do a lot of work around my relationships, around abuse recovery, the effects of that on my mind, body, spirit, environment, all of that. You can't just like say, oh, well, I'm going to do something for charity if it doesn't link with your karmic story. So for example, when I've been recovering and paying back karmic debt that was due to sexual abuse, and I'm not victim blaming here because I was a victim. What I'm saying is I understood how to repay that karma is to change that mentality, to change what that did to me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and repay that back, be doing something differently than what is the imprinted karma. And what I knew was the imprinted karma was what was played out. So how my family and environment and circumstances responded. So I chose, for example, this is just one example of the karmic threads I've had to repay back to do with sexual abuse and rape trauma and things, is I chose to report. I chose to confront in one way or another the people involved in that circumstance, which I knew was different, which was doing something different and changing the energy around it, because I found evidence in the past that this was a karmic thing, this was a generational thing that was never addressed. So I didn't choose to have this generational karmic experience happen to me. But once I was, especially after I become very sure, oh my God, this is a generational karmic pattern that's never been spoken about, that has been playing out for generations and continued with this silence, that I knew I then had to do something different. And for me, that involved reporting. So that was physical. It was learning how to communicate and confront and speak to people about how I was feeling about it. And then also either set boundaries and walk away and separate from the people that were involved in that I didn't want to be connected to, because I wasn't covering it up anymore. And I was setting that boundary of safety for myself, but then also repairing, having very difficult conversations and seeing through the process of repairing the relationships that I did want to keep, that were entangled in all of that. That possibly sounds like a lot of effort, because it was. It's taken lots of years, a lot of energetic investment, and a lot of work. But now I'm not tied to that karmic pattern. I am completely free of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual binds that karmic situation had played out in my life for years. So I know that I have got that back to a zero because I'm neutral about it, and that I'm not going to continue that pattern, that I'm not going to invite that energy back in. And if anything like that energy comes in, I know how to deal with it. I will address it. I know how to not repeat the pattern. Therefore, I can then create a new reality that's not in line with this past karmic debt that had been passed on for generations. I hope that is making sense. Like I say, if it's not, let me know, comment, message, and I'll see if I can make more content, or we can have a one-to-one. Once we've repaid our karma, right, when we get back to this ground zero, we become who we were meant to be without the karma. There's certain things about us that we can't change. I mean, we could, but let's not get into that. Like our physical body, right? We're given this body, right? This life experiences me, Terri. I'm in this body. I have this face. I have, this physicality, right? Therefore, I have that genetic material. There might be a lot of other potential genetic material that I can tap into. We'll go on to I love all that stuff, but I don't want to go off on one. We become, when we have paid back our karma and we're in ground zero, we become the person who we could have been, we're designed to be, without all the karma, without all of that stuff. We are authentic. We can live in our truth. We are in alignment with our true selves, with how nature created us, if you like, without all of this other conditioning. We have a fresh slate. And what I've discovered is, as I've talked about a bit, this in-between phase that I feel like I'm in at the minute, is that I'm getting to grips with who I am without all this karma, without having to do all this healing and recovery work. Who am I at peace? Who am I with a calm, regulated nervous system? Who am I when I respond to life as it happens without all this old shit I was carrying around for years? So when we found this place of neutrality and we've cleared our karmic debt, we'll be put into a space a bit like purgatory. I think that's the word in that levels of hell. But it's not hellish at all. What it is, it's a space, it's a plateau. It's a space where We have to confront who we really are. So we have to become comfortable with who we are, how we are, and where we are when we are just being our authentic selves, when we are just living in the consequences of our own energy, when we are being living at the frequency of our energetic system. So when I say you can't escape your reality, it's that you become who you were designed to be at the level that you are at that ground zero. This is why living authentically and in alignment and being honest with yourself and being integral and knowing your values and knowing your mind is all relevant, because in this space, in this in-between space, before we can begin, or not even before we begin, as we are sitting energetically in the truth of who and how we are, where we're meant to be energetically, we begin to then draw in and attract the life that we would like to desire, which is what a lot of the other manifesting teachings talk about, right? Where visualization, feeling as if you already have it. All of this language is kind of about being at peace with where you are. So if you are desiring wealth, health, can you be at peace where you are now? And is that aligned with who you are? So if you don't feel wealthy without money, if you don't feel wellness without perfect health, if that's your conditions that you're in, you can't attract it, because what you'll be attracting or what you'll be manifesting is from a place of need, of lack, of not being that thing. So the reason we do the work of clearing our karmic debt and finding this ground zero, if you like, this zero space of neutrality, is because we're realigning our frequency. We are building our energetic power, our energetic strength, being authentic, being who we are, living in this timeline of pure potential, and creating from that space. So we are creating not from a place of I need or lack, because we're in this karmic debt, because karmic debt will replay in one way or another as a lack of integrity, a lack of health, a lack of wealth, a lack of love, whatever it is. It's a lack because you have karmic debt. Once you've repaid your karmic debt and you're at zero, you're not lacking anything. You're whole, you're a zero, right? You're whole without it. So you're whole being who you are. And then when you start manifesting from that energy, or start to then visualize, imagine where you want to go and take steps towards it. And that's in alignment with your integrity. It's in alignment with your sense of self, with your authenticity, with your values. All the reason we've done all of this shadow work, all of this karmic replay. So you know all this, so that when you're manifesting something, it's aligned with who you really are. It's aligned with your self-image, because you feel worthy, because you are enough, because you have enough, because you don't need anything to fulfill you. You're not lacking anything, you're adding in the new. When you want to manifest something, you desire something better, something more, you're adding. So you're you plus this. I'm whole me plus wealth. I'm whole me plus love. I'm whole me plus a big house, whatever it is. And until we can find that alignment as who we are authentically, then we can start to create a positive karma and positive reality. We can't escape our reality ever. We can't just I mean, we can try, and I've certainly did that in the past, this whole quantum jumping idea, shifting timelines, shifting realities, and you can do that, but there's going to be consequences to that. And especially if you're doing it from a karmic debt, trying to jump from there to there, there's going to be a lot of consequences you have to repay, even if you're in this timeline. Okay, so you can jump into, try and do something, repay karma, that feels like you're doing really positive karmic things, or trying to create a positive karmic debt, doing something good for yourself, good for others, good for the universe, nature, environment, and you'll still face really negative, difficult, challenging karmic consequences. Okay, as long as you're trying to escape your life. When you go through the process, naturally working with life and what comes up, which especially is what I think we're going to have to be getting really good at now in this new phase of our evolution. When you can do that, you'll start to be able to clear your karma a lot easier, because we'll know straight away once you're in that peace. And this is the other thing. So once you're in that peaceful aligned place, and you've gotten used to who you are, how you are, you know yourself, you know how to use your body, mind, energy system. When something comes in that needs to be addressed, you can address it instantly. Okay, you can just address it. If you've not done all the work to get to that zero, you can have a lot of confusion as you don't know what this means or that means. You're not in control. You don't understand your thoughts, you don't understand your emotions, you don't know how to process them, you don't know what you align with spiritually. Do you know what I mean? When you actually do the work, you're learning lessons at each, your karmic lessons, you're learning them to get yourself to zero, and then you can use them to climb back further up towards what you want. When you consider this manifesting of your future and your desired life, and you're wanting to create positive karma, and it's not detrimenting anyone or anything else, right? Think of this energetically. So if your karmic debt is like your karmic story of the past and it's in a negative, if you want to start creating a positive, becoming more powerful energetically, being able to manifest what you desire, manifesting from a place that is energetically rewarding. So think of it like a story, right? A good story doesn't end with, I went through all of this trauma recovery, paid back all this karmic debt, and had a great business and made loads of money. That is not going to satisfy the energetic story of your soul, right? Of the universe, which is what this sort of manifesting is about. Instead, it's like finding your wholeness and then becoming more than that, expanding more than that. So you get to enjoy more love, better relationships, more well-being, these energetic rewards, more than physical, tangible rewards of I have a better car or I have an extra holiday a year. These kind of things, when people are teaching you like about manifesting things, they're really shallow. Like, you are not going to enjoy a better holiday if you have karmic debt. Because when we found our neutrality, when we found our 0 point, we are already whole and we're just adding. So we're not trying to change who we are. We're not trying to change how we are, where we are energetically. We're not trying to push ourselves through our story. We're not trying to avoid our reality. We are living a whole, zero whole life and adding more into it. So we're expanding then. So we're becoming more positive. Our energy is growing in a positive way. So when we then bring more things into our life, it's not to fill us up, it's because we're overflowing, because we have more capacity to enjoy this thing that we're manifesting. So that's like some of the key differences that I see when people are talking about manifestation, and especially a lot of it when it's to do with like money or material things. They kind of avoid, and they're just talking about having like a vision or having like thoughts, beliefs that align with that, or they're talking about having a frequency that aligns with that outcome, all that stuff. I just feel like there's this whole chunk of like information that's not been talked about, which is this karmic debt, if you like, and getting ourselves to this point of neutrality before we start manifesting other experiences into our life. Because in my experience, I've manifested a lot of things in my life, but when I did it from a place of lack, all those manifestations turned out to be really negative. Even when I thought I was doing a positive thing in like doing something for either for my better self or for the betterment of humanity or nature or whatever it was, it still ended up being negative, and I still had to learn a karmic lesson in order, and a lot of work that might be physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, to repair and make amends for that manifestation that I created, if that makes sense. But our karma will keep us trapped as long as we are avoiding it. So if we are not in our current reality, feeling safe, feeling aligned, feeling at peace, feeling well, if we're trying to escape that, our karma, our old shit, our old patterns will keep us trapped there. We have to learn the lessons. You have to learn the lessons and do things differently. So I've kind of come up with a few pointers that I have just learned from my own lessons of what facing our karma is or is required of us. Facing our karma is facing our fears. This is to do with the mind. It's facing our fears. And often our fears, sometimes they can feel even like irrational. They're not irrational. They're from potentially past lives, things like that. Whatever we are afraid of is a lesson that needs to be learned. I've done a blog in the past about how you can face your fear. I will link that if I remember. Have a look at Love School. Another one is dealing with the consequences of our situation. So it could be dealing with the consequences of past choices, dealing with the consequences of living in certain environments, living around certain people, whatever it is. It's being honest with the consequences of the reality we've created, choosing to live in integrity. So if you're being honest and you're choosing your integrity and there's a consequence, you are learning a karmic lesson. Okay, you're repaying karmic debt. The more that you choose to do what's in your best interest, what's in everyone's best interests, you're repaying back karmic debt or gaining positive karma, even if it's showing up with challenging consequences. That's kind of how we build courage and bravery in these positive attributes. This is how we align ourselves to our value system and things and repay something good. This is how we become sure in our sense of being a decent person. When you have a strong self-image that you are a decent person, you know you are because you make good choices, or the right choices at least. Doesn't matter if you make mistakes, but you're doing your best. You're making the right choices. You're doing what you have consciously considered is in your best interest or the best interest of everybody, and you're sticking with that. You are gaining positive attributes, positive energy, positive karmic returns. We need to feel our emotions and find peace. Our emotions are energy expressions. They come up, they move through us, they change, they evolve, we release them. We can't rush that. And it's just what I've learned. The more that we are present with our emotions, learn the lessons for our emotions, can accept our emotions and go through the motions of the emotions and come back to peace, the more we get used to living in alignment with peace, the more we can build our strength and energetically in that way, so we can hold more peace and invite in more of what we do want, which I guess I'm assuming is more of a positive, good, peaceful life, right? We need to calm and regulate our nervous system. Our nervous system is telling us when we're in danger, in fear. So that could be physically, that could be mentally and emotionally, but doing the work to heal our body, calm and regulate our nervous system, and find wellness. We can be born into a disabled body, for example. It's up to us to really get honest with that and figure out what we can and can't change about those conditions. We might have a condition that we cannot change, but we can find peace with our condition, and we can find wellness as much as we can within any condition that we are born into. And like I say, we can't move on. We can't create a life we want unless we're honest about our reality and where we are, and we're neutral about it. We're in that ground zero. So working with what you've got physically, for example, in your body, calming what we can, and we can calm our nervous system. We can heal certain physical conditions. We can make sure that we're getting optimal nutrition, plenty of fluids, moving whichever way we can, getting fresh air, all these things that we know is good for a human body. If we're doing that and we are well physically, mentally, emotionally well, and we found wellness, we've a regulated nervous system, we're not terrified of the things that we don't need to be terrified about, and we're calm and well, we're in that ground zero point, and then we can start to improve our health technically, or improve our environments or our circumstances. We might not be able to change certain physical attributes of our condition, but we can be honest about them and then potentially physically change our environment so they impact us less. Yeah. But we have to do that from a place of like calm and things. That's how we repay back the karmic debt. And then we can create, because we know from an honest place of what we actually do need to change in our environment to make that condition less of a burden or less of a restriction for us. When we've learned the lessons, when we are in alignment, when we're able to act with honesty and integrity, we have our wellness, we have our peace, we're calm, we're then acting in the best interests of ourselves. We have a clear mind, we have a clear energy system, we can respond to life as it's coming up from a new place. That's when we can start to create, consciously create a life that we want, desire. Now, nothing's linear and perfect like that. The healing journey can be all over the place. I was going to say that can be a spiral, it can be up and down, round and round. We don't know. But if we deal with what comes up at the time, and then we can keep coming back to that place of alignment, when we're consciously creating choices then for ourselves, manifesting a reality that we want, and our feeling is right, we're going to be more likely to be able to step into all of this other chatter that you've probably seen on YouTube about manifesting and being able to vision the life that you want, and believing that things are possible, all that other stuff that you need to know to manifest becomes possible when you're in that zero place. Okay. And just another thing, this is just like the last point I want to make, that I think we're here. This is just my thoughts. I think we're here to evolve humanity, and that we have the potential, when we clear all this karmic debt collectively, to step into a brand new reality, creating a life that serves not only us as individuals, which is what we have been living through very recently, this like independent, individualistic, everyone for themselves, dog eat dog, all that mentality, which, let's face it, look around you, that's not serving the collective of humanity or our environment. It might serve certain individuals, and we do need to take self-responsibility as part of a karmic journey, of course. But once we get to that place where we have all the potential to create what we want, if we then start to create things that are not only in our own best interests, but in the best interest of our family, our neighbors, our communities, our countries, our world, humanity as a whole, and nature, our environments, if we start to then use this place that we found of peace and calm and alignment, and create a reality we would like, that all humans and animals and thrive, like nothing's perfect, but if we're at least trying, and we're at least responding to life as it comes up and trying to make it better for everyone and ourselves, I think that's when we can step into all this prophesied stuff, if you like, our promised land, create something really peaceful on earth. And wouldn't that be lovely? I think so. Anyway, I hope this video's been helpful. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you're not sure about. If you really want to dive into this, into your own karma, I'll be happy to do some one-to-ones around this. And I would have to speak to you individually. So you can email me through Love School, through the email, mail@loveschool.uk. There's a lot of content on YouTube and on Love School that kind of links to this, and I'll try and link whatever I can when I put the video up. Love to know what you think. All the best to you. Good luck in life. Thanks for watching the video.